Welcome to the Renderpod. I'm very excited to introduce today's guest, an award-winning filmmaker. Graeme has been shaped by his Jamaican and Scottish roots, growing up immersed in diverse cultures that ignited his curiosity and deepened his empathy for people's stories. This foundation has become the driving force behind his work, exploring sensitive subjects and providing ethical spaces for communities whose histories are often overlooked. His recent work includes Play It Loud, How Toronto Got Soul, which he directed and co-wrote, as well as Sound and Pressure, Reggae in a Foreign Land, a five-part documentary series. He's also the co-founder of Bonfire Originals, a production company committed to amplifying untold stories and marginalized voices through powerful visual storytelling. Beyond filmmaking, Graeme is known as DJ Gramera, a vinyl enthusiast and longtime host of Stolen Souls, a community radio show that he's led for over 15 years. Lots of accolades there, I'm excited to get deeper into it. So please welcome Graeme Mathieson.
Thank you for having me. And yeah,
Yeah,
feel
yeah, thanks
honored,
for
honored
being
to be here.
here. Awesome. So I wanted to start with all the buzz around Play It Loud.
Very first recording. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Jay is one of the trailblazers. He's been around since the 60s.
It's in the DNA, man. I'm gonna take you on a journey back to the beginning, the art and soul of black music in Canada. Who am I? I'm Jay Douglas. Let's get into this, man.
I was blessed enough to see the screening in Jamaica a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to know when you first thought about doing this story, how did you think you would approach it?
Yeah, I approached this story as like a lover of the music and the culture, like growing up within the music within my family, but also um, DJing the music, the radio show that I had. I no longer do the radio show, but for the 15 years I did that radio show. That started when I was in university, and it was from the beginning a show that was my love of collecting the vinyl music of our island, Jamaican music, but also soul music, funk music. So I came at it as like a fan. So for me, I was always amazed at the wealth of talent and music that was being recorded here in Toronto by the Jamaican diaspora, but never really got that recognition. So I was absolutely in love with the music. And so in terms of bringing it to the film and presenting these stories, it was like music focused, music first for me. Like I really wanted to let the music shine. So I almost kind of, I think I've been told this by a colleague. They're like, "Oh, you almost did this film and Sounds and Pressure with my co-director Chris Flanagan on that one. We almost approached both projects almost like a mixtape, like a mix CD, like doing a mix. It's just like nonstop music. So um, I think yeah, that was like the leading mindset was like, how do I make this music shine? And obviously, to play it loud. I tried really hard to make sure the majority of the music was done by music recorded here by the Jamaican diaspora, and so like 95% of the music is, which is pretty impressive. I think um, it's definitely a sign of like the amazing stuff that was being done here back in the 60s and 70s. And then also at the same time, I knew going into this, a lot of the archives don't exist. They either weren't documented properly by mainstream media. They also didn't get the that respect and love in those early years by the radio stations and the labels. So a lot of this stuff was either like personal archives, which is of course hard to get. We were able, we contacted a lot of people, but I knew a lot of it would have to be told through other ways. So trying to bring the archives we had to life, but also doing creative reenactments that for me, reenactments can fall short and take you out of the story. So really doing it and honoring those moments with a really collaborative team who really understood these eras and these scenes and the music and the culture to help bring some of these stories to life.
I wanted to know more about just your love for music. Has it been lifelong? When did you start getting seriously interested to the point of even DJing?
Hmm. I mean, music was always like we grew up with music. We always had it in our household. Um, my mom being Jamaican, like I was, grew up with reggae music, like knew it from a kid. So that was always in me. But like music also goes back to our family in Jamaica. So we have like a lineage of musicians. My grandfather was played organ in his church in Buff Bay, but he was really talented to the point that like other churches would hire him for service to go play at their churches because he could do the large pipe organs. I have cousins and aunts who teach music in Jamaica. So, I mean, music kind of been ingrained in us. And so, although I didn't play an instrument, my attachment to the music was eventually collecting the music and learning more about it. And I grew up as like a 90s hip hop kid in Toronto. And one thing I loved was trying to find out all the original music that the hip hop I love was sampling. So that got me into collecting music. So soul music, funk music, a little bit of jazz, and then combined with my love of reggae. And those genres like have a lot of crossover throughout the generations. So that was my introduction to it. And then a hobby turns into like a maybe a bit of an obsession of collecting the music. But I ultimately just love playing the music as well as a DJ. And, even in my DJ nights, it's less about making money or, my reputation or whatever. It's more, I just love sharing the music I've been collecting and making people move and dance to it. So that's always been my love of the music. And again, just the lack of respect that the music of our forefathers who came here and the generations before us, the lack of respect that that the music that it didn't get in Canada for me was a bit of an indignation, a bit of like it's a critique of Canadian society back then. So, I really, I've been passionate about really giving these musicians and these artists their flowers because they didn't get them back then in the day.
Which is why it's so great that, filmmakers like you are picking subject matters like this. Curious to know at what point you saw a music-based story and said, this needs to be told. I want to do some visual storytelling. I don't know if that was your first filmmaking project, perhaps, but the first time you said, oh, let's translate this music story into a film.
Well, so Sounds and Pressure, A Reggae in a Foreign Land, which is a five-part uh, anthology of doc shorts, which came before. That was released a couple of years, about a year and a half before Play It Loud.
Jamaica,
Toronto, the history of reggae music.
I come with the intention to spread reggae music in Canada.
This is a rhythm for people.
I let my voice be my trumpet. King of the reggae bass line. The first song we did was a huge hit.
Some of the records now are collector's items and they go for mega dollars.
They have tried many times to kill the reggae music.
Guess what? We never give up. We did not even realize what a big part we would have been playing in the building of the city.
I think reggae is love.
Pure love.
That's what it was. Love and the music.
That one was music focused. Each episode featured like a reggae legend or ska legend out of Jamaica who eventually also moved up to Toronto. Beyond the music, all these stories, including Jay Douglas in Play It Loud, tell a bigger story of the challenges of minority communities trying to find space and place and meaning in a foreign country like Canada. My mom came up at the same time as a lot of these artists. She came up in 69 as a 22-year-old woman to Toronto with nothing. She had one friend that was up here, but just trying to make something. And, it's always, the grass is greener on the other side. Like everyone, I guess from what I've learned from a lot of these people and my mom, it's like, there was always like the promise of more opportunity. And yes, there was. But again, that didn't come without a lot of challenges that this growing population of the West Indian diaspora had faced. But ultimately, like what they brought culturally, socially, music wise, was bigger than any racism or anything that they had faced,
Mhm.
because ultimately, um, people fell in love with like what we brought, what Jamaicans brought, what the West Indian community brought. And so through these films, I wanted to tell this larger legacy of the cultural shift of Canada because of this diaspora here and the increasing population of West Indians in Toronto specifically, because it's such a unique, beautiful story that's ultimately changed Toronto and Canada for the better. And I mean, I always just to kind of joke on the side, like I think our unofficial, snack item in Toronto is probably the patty. Like that's become
Oh, yeah.
synonymous. Like it's everywhere. Everyone eats it. It's not a Jamaican thing. It's like it's across the board.
Yeah, and just modern day music too, and even just the culture, the dialect, you know.
Yeah, Toronto, like the Toronto, like the joke is like the Toronto man's slang is like it's
It's patois.
predominantly influenced by patois. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Patois is
And
like the Canadian accent.
yeah, it really has become the Toronto accent, and even you see some of the biggest artists coming out of Toronto now, or even for like the past 20 years. And I would argue anyone who says you can't, there's not a bit of Jamaican influence in a lot of that music, whether or not they are first or second generation Caribbean Canadians, or just people who love the music. Like the influence is undeniable.
I'm curious now about kind of the logistics of filmmaking. So, you see the stories, you're inspired to make them. How do you go about getting funding?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really good conversation we had too at the panel discussion after our Jamaican premiere a couple weeks ago. Shout out to Denisha Prendergrass who moderated that. We also had Carlene Davis on the panel, her daughter Naomi Cowan, who just won the Reggae Juno Award in Canada. Dr. Dennis Howard as well, and Jay's brother was also on the panel. But I know Denisha brought up, the challenges around getting stories funded, specifically our stories funded. And then she kind of said, maybe in Jamaica there's something that can be learned from the Canadian model for funding and supporting, our filmmakers and our stories. I 100% think Canada's doing a really good thing. And they do provide a lot of funding opportunities for filmmakers and for especially stories that didn't get told typically. So, giving us the opportunity to tell our stories of the diverse mosaic that makes Canada. And something like the National Film Board, which we have, the Canadian National Film Board, they 100% funded and commissioned and produced Sounds and Pressure, my earlier series that we did. And that would be hard to get funded otherwise because there was a lot of um, craft that was put into it. We had really amazing collaborators also from the Jamaican and Caribbean diaspora that collaborated with us. We all worked together to create something really beautiful. Likewise, what I think we did to Play It Loud. So we are like blessed to have the National Film Board, who their mandate for this 60 plus years, I think it's been longer, 70 plus years they've been around, is to support and foster filmmaking and animation talent and to really showcase the Canadian perspective and Canadian stories without having to make money. It's just solely about like allowing our people to represent who we are and all the diverse stories. But for Play It Loud, it was, it's a challenge. Like you do have to, though the funding exists, you have to apply to like four, five, six different institutions. So the money is there, but it does take like a while. So it took us maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years from conception of the idea, and then working with our producer Andrew Munger, applying for all the funds. So you have to, it's like you're waiting for this fund and then that fund, and then you're waiting for a broadcaster to come on board. So I don't know. It's a complicated ecosystem, but I think the more important thing is there's a trend by those in power who are seeing less value in the culture of of telling our stories and supporting that from a public perspective and from public funding. And so they are trying to reduce those funds because they don't see value in the arts.
Yeah.
But the arts remind us who we are, and we need the arts because and the culture because it's more than just like living in a society where we're making money and running a rat race. It's like art, culture, music is a reflection of who we are, and that's more that's like that's life. The more Jamaica can do as well to support their local filmmakers and artists, and also really celebrating their stories,
Right,
like
their own
our stories and our
culture.
history musically in Jamaica, because it is like, from the size of the island Jamaica is and the influence it's had on the global stage musically and culturally. But yet, when like my thing is like every time I go back to Jamaica, I'm just like, I think, I hope, I know there's always talk about like opening up a museum or a music museum. And like the locals are doing stuff on like on Orange Street, Beach Street to kind of like to keep the legacy alive of what once existed there. But I mean, I hope more can be done because I know people will come because people around the world love like reggae music and the music that's coming to Jamaica. So, um, yeah, I just think it's like we've got to make sure our politicians impress upon them the importance of like maintaining or creating more funding for celebrating and supporting the arts, filmmaking, music, culture.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, it seems to only extend as far as capitalist gains can be,
Mm.
you know, achieved. And when it's just for the sake of art and the benefit on just the people and the positive impact of seeing yourself in a story or seeing,
Mm.
the place that you come from in a story, I feel like, yeah, the infrastructure to support that in Jamaica, it is growing. It's
Yeah.
better than it once was, but yeah, a whole lot more could go towards it. And it really is in the hands of, yeah, people like politicians, the Minister of Youth and Culture, or I think they switched it to culture, sports, entertainment, but those ministries, even the Ministry of Finance, of course, to, support funding of the arts. So it's a slow road,
Yeah.
a slow trek, but give thanks for places like Canada that really support the arts and can 100% fund a project, just with enough um, filling out applications and all of that. So, that might not be the most fun part, but
Yeah.
at least it's possible. And then people like you can come back and screen in Jamaica. So even though we did not fund it per se, we're still able to see the end result, which is our story on screen, motivating, everyone who watches and also just educating.
Yeah. And shout out to the Canadian High Commission in Jamaica. And so like that screening was sponsored by them. And they did a beautiful job with the premiere. So that couldn't have happened without their support. And so yeah, definitely again, Canada, we're doing our part, and the High Commission was hugely supportive and amazing behind it. We just need to make sure the governments in power now are not like making sure those budgets maintain and we grow them. But I also just want to quickly shout out the people I've gotten to know over the past few years because we have filmed in Jamaica, helping with the supports for filmmaking for local Jamaican filmmakers. So Nadine Rollins at Shafta, and Lisa Thomason with the Gap Fest in Jamaica. Like they're doing some amazing stuff, and they've been helpful with having our films play down there. And then Denisha, of course, with her screening series that she was doing at the Bob Marley Museum. So at grassroots level, man, big up everyone who's like really, you know, sh taking the lead on it, and building.
Furthermore, with Play It Loud, it's now been in many film festivals. It's won awards, which,
Mm.
must be a nice feeling. Curious, how validating does that feel to win the awards, or is it just kind of like a nice to have, but not that important to you?
Uh, I mean, I didn't get into filmmaking, or I'm not doing these films to win awards. Um, I'm doing them because I want to celebrate and elevate our stories and do it with a certain level of honor and respect and and value, production value. I don't want these to feel like an afterthought. Like they're like I want to put everything and bring all the best collaborators I can together to make these films, which I'm really happy with them and happy of the community that came together to help tell these stories and make these films. So that's more important, and that we've got it out there, and we're have been able to have like it's been out for a year and a half, and we're still getting requests for screenings. So that's that's more important that it's getting out there and getting the younger generation seeing these films. Jay right now, our protagonist Jay Douglas, he's doing a tour of some schools and he'll be performing, and in between performing he's going to play some clips from the film.
Yeah.
So that's almost more important, but the awards are really nice because I think it's a recognition and an acknowledgement of the film, but I would say more importantly of the themes and the stories of the film. This film, Play It Loud, is Jay Douglas. He is like a community leader. He's one who's been there throughout all the ups and downs as a working artist and musician and entertainer. So I think it's more an acknowledgement of the cultural legacy that Jay and his contemporaries who are featured in the film have laid down here in Canada. So for that, yes, those awards are amazing to celebrate, to acknowledge and celebrate and recognize these stories.
Yeah. Where has it screened around the world?
We had our Caribbean premiere at the Caribbean Film Festival in Trinidad last year. We were in LA earlier this year at the Pan African Film Festival, and we won Best First Feature Film there. We've been at a film festival, Available Light Film Festival in the Yukon, so up in the north in Canada. Where else have we been? We were in Detroit, part of the Windsor International Film Festival. They had a special screening in partnership with downtown Detroit, so we had a screening outdoors in Detroit. Where else? I mean, we've been all over Canada, all around the GTA. We played in London and Liverpool at film festivals out there, the Caribbean Tales Film Festival and the Windrush Caribbean Film Festival. There's obviously a bunch more I'm missing. Yorkton, Saskatchewan, which is like a small town farming community in Saskatchewan. And one of the organizers there, she's Jamaican. And so she thought it was very important to bring that film out there. And, a fairly white agricultural area in Saskatchewan, and people love the film out there. So that was amazing at that film festival. Yeah, so it's been all around, and we're still looking to bring it back to Jamaica again. I want to come back because Jay couldn't come, unfortunately. So Jay and I want to come back and bring it to Jamaica. So if anyone out there in Jamaica is interested in having another screening, we want to go to Montego Bay because Jay's, he got his start in Mo Bay before he left for Canada, winning song competitions out there. And then, we still want to go to like other cultural centers around the world. We haven't done a New York City screening yet. So we're looking to do that. And we haven't done Montreal here in Canada yet. So we're still looking to do a lot more screenings, but it's been pretty spectacular and humbling how many opportunities we've been able to screen through festivals and just community screenings. And we self-distributed it. So, TVO is our distributor for TV here in Canada, across Canada, but for theatrical, we've self-distributed ourselves, so it's been pretty amazing. Communities around the world and across Canada have really come out to support and program our film.
I want to play a little game. So it's called What Do I Do? So I see that there is a group, a band here in Jamaica who has been doing their thing for years, since the 90s, and they just haven't quite gotten the recognition they need. And I think, it would be nice to tell their story. I would love to hypothetically get it screened the way that you have Play It Loud screened, like all over the world. And I just have no idea how to start. What are some tips that you can share with me so that I know how to share their story? What do I do?
Uh, really good question. I mean, a big thing was applying for film festivals, and having a compelling like little trailer or a teaser that you can share as well. Um, but I mean, Film Freeway, which some filmmakers, I'm sure a lot of filmmakers will be aware of, is sort of like a portal for um, almost all the film festivals globally around the world. And so you can search there for festivals that, might match your film thematically, or location wise. And you can apply, you can submit for them. Some of them have a submission fee. But if your film you think is really aligned with a certain festival's ethos or mandate or theme, try to contact the organizers directly and ask if you could potentially get a waiver. So we've got a waiver. So they waived the fee, gave us a waiver code so we didn't have to pay a fee because for certain festivals, our film was like, exactly what that festival is about. So getting in festivals is huge because then you potentially are opening up to audiences outside of your location. Um, and then I think like social media again, we didn't, I basically manage our social media accounts. But I mean, I shouldn't be the one telling people, the younger generation, how to maximize exposure on social media. But I think I've done a pretty decent job. And so I learned from people younger than me, and just like, you know, being consistent in putting stuff out on our social media about the film, but also being creative with it. So I've been using outtakes or pulls from the film and posting them relevant to certain anniversaries or celebrations or what have you. So like Jamaican Independence Day, there
Mm.
is a scene in our film about that. That's a really, I don't know, it's a really beautiful scene, I feel. And so I just pulled that and put that um as part of like a celebration of Jamaican independence. And then it kind of went viral. Like we got, hundreds of thousands of likes and people just saying, "Oh my God, the archives of back in the day," or "Remember the days," or younger generations like, "Oh, I had no idea." So trying to like, yeah, strategically and creatively associate with certain like anniversaries and celebrations. And I mean, just being available. So myself as the filmmaker, and like my story, my connection to community, my background being Jamaican heritage, and then Jay also being available uh, to talk about our film, to be interviewed, to do
Right.
Q&As at a lot of our screenings. Um, I think that's been really important and really helped with getting the film out. Like, it's more valuable to be able to have the film screen, but then also have community reasoning and talk back and the opportunity for us to discuss the themes of the film and filmmaking and the culture and the legacy and the challenges and what have you. So that's, I think, been really valuable for us, myself, Jay, the other people that are in the film, but also for the audiences that we partake in the screening with.
Yeah, there's a nice little ecosystem now of Play It Loud by itself. Like I imagine
Yeah,
it has its own social media pages and that kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
we secured that right out the bat. Like we're like, okay, let's secure that handle for our social media and yeah, I just keep posting. Keep posting.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. It doesn't
I still
end.
got so much to post too. It's like I haven't even posted all the photos from our premiere because I haven't had time. So like that's coming because our premiere was really special in Jamaica. So I'm gonna post that soon. And yeah.
Are there any other projects in the pipeline right now, or we're just like committed to sharing Play It Loud at this point?
Uh, I'm developing a new documentary feature. I'm kind of departing, maybe temporarily, from music documentaries.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm a strong advocate for a livable city here in Toronto, and Toronto is a expensive city to live in. And we definitely have a big challenge around homelessness and housing vulnerable individuals. So my next documentary that I'm developing is following a young professional woman's journey of rediscovery of what happened to her father, who disappeared from her life at 9, and he fell into mental health issues, addiction, and became homeless all throughout her teenage years. So through her journey of rediscovery, we want to put a face on homelessness because it's come to the point now where people just are like they don't want to have to deal with it because it's a lot, but our elected officials, especially from our provincial level, are not doing enough and are actually year after year cutting funding towards housing and dealing with people who are dealing with addiction and mental health and just turning a blind eye.
Well, Graham, I admire very much your passion, not just for music, but for telling these stories because, a lot of us consume music or may have thoughts about how far it should reach or, the recognition certain figures in the scene should get. But, it just stays as conversations, among friends and family. It doesn't develop into something that can be shared publicly. So just bigging you up,
Mm.
for following through with the passion, doing the work, applying for the funding, gathering with, all the collaborators and like, yeah, everything that you have invested in getting these stories out there and highlighting these great figures like Jay Douglas and, the ones that were in Sounds and Pressure and
Mm.
those places. So just for those out there, I believe, is it only streamable in Canada, the two works?
Yeah, it currently is. We only have, yeah, we're current while we negotiate potential international sales, which is just the process that I'm learning of documentary. It's currently only available to be streamed in Canada. So if you're here in Canada, definitely stream it for free. Follow us on Instagram and our website. So it's the same handle or URL. It's Play It Loud Doc, or playitlouddoc.com for our website. And yeah, we post up the screenings we're having. And that's the same thing with Sounds and Pressure. If you get a chance, it's currently only available in Canada, but if you're here or you know anyone who's up here who might be interested, go check it out. It's also free. You can just Google it and you'll find you can play it on the NFB's website or also on YouTube. But that one, I think we're also closer to like getting international rights for our music licenses. That's what's restricting us right now. And it's not the individuals, it's not the musicians, it's definitely
The
the
label?
bigger record labels. It's like it's it's money. It costs money. I get it. It's like that's the industry. So yeah, if you if there's any supporters of the arts that want to put money towards getting our international music licenses, and then we can get the film out there. But yeah, so hopefully soon. I've got faith. I've got faith. It'll happen.
Yeah, just wanted to know real quick, how much would clearing a song go for, a song from the 60s that may not have been that popular at the time, that kind of thing? What's the range that they would charge?
To be honest, it's so hard to say because it's more so shout out to Everton, Racket Music Supervision. Everton, he was our music supervisor. So, he can come up with a deal, and he can negotiate on our behalf. So it ranges, but he can also come up with a deal where every artist gets paid the same, or every music rights holder, a publisher gets paid the same for each song. So it's an even playing field. So he did that for our film. So I can't say exactly how much it is. So it does range. But that's super helpful because, we used a Bob Marley song, a Wailers song. We also used a James Brown song. Um, and those typically would be obviously much more expensive. They're in demand. They're well-known, recognized artists. But with the approach we had is like it balanced it. So like the same thing we pay for them is the same when we're paying for the small independent artists like Jay's Band the Cougars back in the day, or Bob and Wisdom, or these other like Wayne McGee, these other more independent artists who didn't get that same support from the major record labels. But I would just say like one thing to that question is I think it's even more important that the artists that got less support, that we pay more for their music
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
they are the ones that never got their fair dues. Whereas and I'm not discounting the bigger artists because like their music's like it's so important to the culture and what we're trying to tell. But like, it's these guys and girl and women who didn't get that financial compensation for the music that they created and that people loved and danced to. So
Right.
if there's a way to like get them more money for their music, I'm always about that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, even more work to do. So,
Yeah.
the
There could be a
destination. Yeah,
documentary
yeah.
about that.
Oh, you're right, you're right. Like I would definitely watch that. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
something that yeah, I always wonder about like how do you, craft the deal? Worse if there's remixes or covers or
Yeah.
interpolations, just yeah, it's a whole universe.
It's a whole universe. It's a lot of work, and if you're doing a film, make sure try to get a music supervisor on board with your team at an early stage. Even if you can't afford to pay for one, just talk to someone, get some more insights. Yeah, and shout out to Alison Duke. She's a Caribbean Canadian filmmaker who's she's yeah, you know, been doing films forever, and she's amazing, been doing some really good work. She did a film called Paid in Full, which does talk about a bit about the music industry and black artists not getting paid their fair dues amongst the ecosystem of major record labels. So yeah, check that out.
Okay, sweet. All right. Well, great conversation, Graham. Thank you so much for being on the Render Pod with Renderyard. And, hopefully we can aid in the distribution of this as well.
Help us bring it. Let's bring it back to Jamaica again. We need more screenings in Jamaica. Like one wasn't enough. We want to come back with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it was awesome. I was actually surprised at the turnout. I wasn't sure, like, how many people were going to come.
Same. Yeah. Kudos to the High Commission and everyone there, Tanisha and Patricia. Yeah, it was like pretty magical. I was like, to see Muta Baruka show up, I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
wow, okay.
yeah.
This is special. This is special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
awesome.
yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great. And yeah, I know we'll stay connected, and yeah, maybe one of our screenings will be curated by yourself and Jillian.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That would be great. We'd be honored to do that, especially as a film about the Jamaican culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
well, that
Okay.
has been the Render Pod with Graeme Mathieson. Look out for his, new documentaries coming up in maybe a couple years. With
Maybe.
yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
sooner.
Based on the funding, but yes,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
hope
yeah,
it's
yeah.
sooner.
It's like 5 years typically to make a film. If we could like condense that, that'd be better.